Hello everybody. Today's video is on a common problem, which is a broken Skullcandy headphone, or really any headphone. But specifically today we're going to be fixing the Skullcandy headphone with the Mic 3 function. A lot of the videos out there that show repairs on this type of headphone do it in such a way where you lose the functionality of the microphone and the volume controls, and we're going to retain those. So I wanted to do a video that would show you how to do a proper repair and retain those functions. I wanted to point out that this video is not about malfunctions at the jack or at the headphone. This would be only for a case where, say, you cut the cord or caught it on something and it broke the wires in the actual cord. I also wanted to point out that Skullcandy warranties their headphones for life. So if you have a manufacturer's defect, you can send your headphones back to Skullcandy and they'll send you a new pair for free. They actually give you credit for a new pair. If it's something that you did, they'll give you 50% of the value of the headphone. So that may be a better route to go rather than tackling the repair yourself. But if this is something that you wanted to do on your own, we'll show you what you need and what you need to do the repair and also how to do it. So let's get right down to it. Okay, so what you're going to need for this repair, obviously your broken headphones. You're going to need some scissors or a wire stripper is very useful, as we'll be dealing with some pretty delicate wiring. You're going to need a soldering iron. This is just a cheap model, about $10 from Harbor Freight, and does the trick. Along with your soldering iron, you need some lead-free solder. And in the end, you will need some electrical tape to wrap up your repair. It'll cover the splices that we're about to do. Or also, and I'll show it to you at the end of the video, is some shrink wrap tubing, which covers the repair. You add heat, shrinks it down, and it holds everything nice and snug. So to begin with, we're going to strip our wires. Obviously you can see I have a break in the headphone. So I'm going to cut the outer casing off to expose the inner wires. I'm also going to cut and then burn back the insulation that's on the inside to allow me access to the wires. So let's get that done. Now that we have all the wires exposed, you can see that we have a red and a green wire, which is your left and right headphone wire. Over here we have two copper wires, which are similar sized. Those are grounds. And what we have here is a copper wire that's actually wrapped around a white wire on the inside. The inner wire, which still needs to be stripped, is the microphone. And this is the piece that most people miss. To retain the to retain the microphone and the volume control, you have to carefully extract the white wire from inside of this wrapped copper wire, expose it, then solder it together. And what we're going to do is we're going to take all of this copper wire wrap, we're going to add it with the two grounds, and we're going to solder all three grounds together, and that works fine. So I'm going to continue doing this. So I'm going to unravel this copper wire here. Let's see if I can actually get it out in front of the camera. So you can see inside that is the white wire and a wrapped copper wire. A little bit hard to make out, but so we got to pull this sheath off of this microphone wire. It's a very delicate wire, it's very small, so be very careful when you're getting into this sheath. So I'm going to remove that now, and then we'll move on to soldering. Okay, so I finally got the mic cord isolated. What we end up with is this tiny little cord. There's some tiny little wire. There's some insulation in there as well. What we're going to do next is we're going to take the two grounds, we're going to separate them from the red and blue wires, and we're also going to take the copper wrap that was around the mic wire, and we're going to solder all those three together, and those will complete the ground. Now that I've gotten that microphone wire stripped, I've isolated all the wires. I've taken the two grounds from this side, the two grounds from this side, as well as that wrapped copper wire that was around the white microphone wire from both sides. I've twisted them all together in a big bundle, and that's going to complete the ground for both sides. So I'm going to solder all of these together. If you don't know how to solder, there are many tutorials on YouTube that will teach you how to do that. It's not hard, although I'm sure I will not do the best job of it. There's some remaining insulation. You'll see some smoke. And that polyester insulation will turn black and melt a little bit as well. Okay, those grounds are wired together. Now I'm going to do the mic wire. Same thing, isolate the two wires, wrap them together and solder it together. Finally, we're going to do the same thing with the red and the green wires. The color on these wires is just a plastic, so you will also see a lot of melting and burning when you go to solder them together. That's normal. Here we have our soldering all finished up. Admittedly, it's not the prettiest job, but it tested and it works. One thing to note is that the microphone and volume control on these headphones are very sensitive, so if you don't properly tape them and get them secured, if you bump this area, like if you bumped up against the cabinet, it can trigger the microphone. So say if you're using an iPhone, it could call up Siri or something like that. So what I like to do first is I like to take some electrical tape and put it just over this very middle part. What that's going to do is it's going to add some rigidity and also keep these wires as separated as possible. And that way we'll hopefully keep that microphone line from calling up any menus on accident. After taping this middle section, I like to test that everything is still functioning. Sometimes what you can do is get a short circuit across a couple of the wires, so it's a good idea after taping it to check to make sure all the functionality of the headphone still works. After that, we're going to move on to the next step, which is installing this shrink wrap. This shrink wrap you can buy at any automotive store or electronics store. This, I think, was bought at an AutoZone or Advanced Auto, something like that. One thing I forgot to mention before is you should put this on before you start soldering. The appropriate size of this tubing is too small to get over some of the larger plugs. So it's a good idea to put this on first. If you don't have this or you haven't put it on, you can just use tape. Sometimes applying a little bit of super glue underneath the tape also helps keep everything together. But this shrink wrap really protects what you've done so far, and it's going to help the repair stand up. So a heat gun is great to use in this situation. Also, just a normal hair dryer will work as well. So just apply heat. Believe it or not, that hair dryer actually got too hot to hold. So it does a very good job. You can see your wires underneath. We have the nice protective shrink wrap on there, and our repair is done. So recheck your work, make sure everything is functional, and that's the end of the tutorial. Hope this helps.